on board?
Well, you can kind of think of the menstrual cycles as, or as seasons, really. So we have an inner spring, an inner summer, an inner autumn, and an inner winter. And so our winter would be our bleeding phase. And so this is a time where we're, I guess, wanting to draw away, not wanting to be so out there. So this would be the time, obviously, when we're bleeding, is a time where we're not really wanting to be forward facing with guests so much, and just a lot more inward thinking, reflective. And really, this phase in our menstrual cycle is about rest and nourishment, and just like drinking herbal teas to kind of warm the blood, and to nourish the womb. And just that much more surrender, rest, allowing. It's the releasing mode as well. So as you're bleeding, you're shedding. So it's a really important emotional time to kind of release whatever it is, any stress or anything like that. And then we go from winter, we go into our spring. So we're starting to move further into, I guess, like starting to come out of that kind of inward phase, and we're starting to emerge again. And so you're starting to feel a bit more sociable and wanting to interact with people again. And then we move into our follicular phase, which is our inner summer, which is when we're just our most gregarious, our most kind of sensual as a woman, and feeling our most confident. And so I mean, if the boats could kind of start to work with the menstrual cycles of the crew, and as women gather together, their menstrual cycles also sync up with each other as well. So you could actually, there are businesses around the world who maybe have a majority of staff that are women, who are now syncing their launches to their business to their follicular phase. So with my business, I'll only do a launch or a webinar or a masterclass around my follicular phase, when I just feel much more I guess magnetic as a person, confident to put myself out there, and as opposed to doing it when I'm in my winter phase, when I just don't really feel like talking to anyone, and just want to sit at home and shut all the doors, so those are all our seasons. And even and then obviously as we go through menopause, we lose those cycles. And so even postmenopausal women can still reconnect to that. We're talking about cyclical awareness, really. It's then becomes about lunar kind of awareness, really. So but it's there's loads of research coming out with working with elite sports teams and runners and stuff, and they're really trying to ensure that they're using their menstrual cycles to train alongside, and finding that they can get optimal performance when they're helping the athletes connect to their menstrual cycles and train efficiently around their menstrual cycles, rather than just pushing through them, denying them, all that sort of thing.
This is so interesting, and I'm so glad to hear it's happening in professional sport. I know I was deeply moved at university. We studied the work of Alexandra Pope, who I met here in Mallorca last year, luckily enough.
Oh, amazing.
One of her books, The Wild Women or something.
Yeah, Wild Power, yeah.
Wild Power is a great read for anyone out there. But I just wanted to go back a step, because we are all, in a way, professional sportsmen, in our work, especially those that are on the sailing boats, especially those that used to get to race on those sailing boats. But all of us are really functioning as professional sports people running boats, no matter what kind of boat is, I believe. And it is it requires a high performance lifestyle. It's very different to a 9-to-5 job. I remember fantasizing when I worked on boats, thinking, and when I went back to a 9-to-5 in corporate, thought, God, this is a piece of piss. 9 to 5. Like, what do I do with the rest of the day? Like, I've got so, so it involves high performance. And I just wanted to touch on, I guess there's not that many menopausal women working on boats, but there must be a few. But there's a lot of people on the birth control, various forms of birth control that don't have periods and skip periods. So I was speaking to a girl the other day that only has a period when the birth control's removed, and then it goes back in, and so she has one a year. So for people that have made those choices, you mentioned embracing the lunar cycle. So, and we all get the lunar cycle because we're from yachts, and hopefully you understand what happens with water in the moon. And our bodies are, 97% water. So how would one that doesn't have menstruation, work with these cycles? Because you were hinting at it before. Could we have some more?
Yeah. So just syncing up with, just honoring the fact that we are creatures of nature, and you've got an amazing opportunity on the boats to always be aware of what the moon is doing, because you're out on deck a lot. And I remember that's one of the biggest things that I found massively kind of disconcerting, really, when I moved ashore and I started living in a house again. I couldn't see the moon, and I didn't know what the moon was doing. But yeah, so when you're on the boats, you have this amazing opportunity to know whether you're at a full moon or a new moon, whatever phase of the moon that you're in. And so just starting to learn about the lunar phases and how you can use each phase of the moon to kind of connect with, I guess, like with your emotions, and using it as a form of emotional release. And also using the moon so you can go, okay, well, I'm feeling like crap today, or I'm feeling really like I'm having loads of self-sabotage or whatever. You can kind of like go, okay, well, let's kind of have a little think about why I might be berating myself right now, and use the moon to go, okay, well, I'm at a lunar phase where, the full moon's about what can I release and what can I let go of in order to move into the next month, the next cyclical month. So what is it that I need to let go of? Is it that stress of that, whatever that person said to me, or what is it? And it's just an opportunity for you to tune into your body a little bit more. And so that's a real feminine thing to be doing, is to have that inward focus and understanding and tapping into that kind of feminine intuition that obviously men have as well, because we all have masculine and feminine, but to tap into that more feminine side of us. So instead of just pushing through our bodies and pushing through depletion all the time, is when we have got the opportunities, whether that's just like the little micro moments in your break time of going and taking a little, I don't know, meditation or lie down or something like that, just to ground yourself and just check in with your body. That just these little micro moments can be enough to just take you out of this kind of yang mode all the time, and helps to kind of rebalance those kind of energies in the body again. So yeah, and then the new moon is about setting new intentions, and what is it that I want to create this month. And I know there's a lot of yachties working on boats who are also like creating their own little side hustle businesses, that sort of thing. So you can use the lunar cycles business wise as well. So but yeah, it's powerful, it's really powerful. And we're just so disconnected from our bodies in this world. We're very taught that everything's about the brain and how we think, and we're very disconnected from leading from the body rather than leading from the mind. And so even if you're living this really full on life all the time, it's almost just like learning how to surrender parts of yourself in little moments that can help shift the dial, but if you're continually denying listening to your body's needs, that's when it all stacks up. And you know, I'm sure there's loads of yachties who come off the boat trying to, you know, and then have fertility problems because they are just so disconnected, or they're so in depletion. They're so, you know, just in this kind of productivity drive mode, and their bodies just don't feel safe, you know.
Yeah, in the fight or flight. I love what you say about the micro moments, because I think sometimes the only time you can get to yourself on a boat is when you go to the bathroom or the head. And I remember being in yachting and, you know, and sitting on the head for 2 seconds. And, you know, sometimes us chicks, especially those that have worked in hospitals and boats, we can go like 18 hours without a pee, you know. You try and do that, guys. but sometimes I'd find like just having that moment on the head to get that micro moment and just be like, okay, I'm here now. I'm just here now, and reclaim those energies and just take a moment to myself. And then all
and
these
the toilet is a great, you can, you know, a toilet meditation is a great thing to do, you know. It's just like just a 2 minutes on the toilet, and you really want to be going into the toilet in a really relaxed state as well. And so going in and just, you know, like just spending those, you know, couple of minutes that you're in the toilet, just draining the excess anxiety and energy out of the brain and bringing it down into the pelvic bowl and into that first, you know, those lower chakra areas of the body, and that's bringing you back into your body. It's helping to drain your body of like excess anxiety and worry that we all, you know, I'm sure I had huge anxiety when I was working on the boats all the time, and so that's actually how I ended up teaching yoga or training as a yoga teacher, was because I was having so much anxiety, you know, running, you know, boats for Necker and all that sort of thing. And I was just like, I needed some tools to start to manage my anxiety. And so that's when yoga came in for me, and meditation, really.
Yeah. And, you know, I think anyone that says I don't have time for yoga and meditation is probably needing it. You know, I know whenever I say I don't have time for that, you know, and also we don't have to meditate and do yoga for hours. And I think the biggest thing I brought into my life, you know, for me and the land-based crew and all the yachties at the moment we're on, you know, April, May, June, even without the boat shows this year, it's so flat out. And I found like last week I had a really busy travel schedule, and I said to myself, I was about to run out the door, and I was like, how about I just do cat-cow for just like 20 seconds? And, you know, to bring those micro moments of self-care in, because I think when we're busy, we think we need a whole hour for yoga, and then it's always tomorrow, you know, and especially when we're on charter or we're traveling and going to lots of shows and meetings. So if you can, you know, find those, use Lois's micro moments to just, you know, you don't have to sit there chanting and have incense burning, you know, in the boat wafting around for an hour. And meditation can be just simply taking that micro moment and just a breath, and as she said, coming back into center, you know, or just do like what's a 2-minute yoga pose that you could do, and maybe do that 3 times a day consistently is better than always, you know, trying to do an hour of yoga. And I think that can be so good for the self-care.
Literally, yeah, totally. Just like little things like 3 minutes with your, you know, your legs up the wall, or you're just lying on your bunk with your legs elevated for 3 minutes at 3 o'clock, you know, just little things like that, you know. And I know that's not always doable, but it is those micro moments, because we do all live like overscheduled, busy lives, and so we have to reclaim those micro moments to, that and just knowing how powerful those micro moments are. Those micro moments are more powerful than a 2-hour yoga practice, you know.
I'm getting the giggles because I'm imagining what the crew mess would look like after lunch if everyone's like, right, everyone, legs in the air.
Yeah.
Everyone on their couches with their legs up.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's like you have to, you know, you get boat foot and stuff, and your feet are just so painful by the end of the day walking around. You've got to put your feet up anyway. So
I actually looked into that recently, and it was a traditional cowboy thing to do. And the cowboys in the Wild West used to lie with their legs up a tree because they, in, you know, the cowboy and Indian times, because they didn't have time to sleep because they had to watch their back. And so they said, you know, with your legs up a tree for 20 minutes was equivalent to 8 hours sleep.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, there's another question I want to ask you, which is, so you did a post on it recently, guys. You've got, and girls, everybody, you've got to follow Lois. She does some really good content. And you did this post that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was about the jade eggs and the kegels. They're the same sort of thing, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, you know, I love jade eggs, so I do use jade eggs with my clients because I work with quite a lot of women with sexual pain, and so I like the jade eggs because whilst I'm medically trained, I like to offer a demedicalized approach to women's health, and I think jade eggs are a great way. But so I did a post about pelvic floor Kegel exercises being the unbalanced masculine approach to pelvic rehabilitation or pelvic therapy or sexual healing or whatever.
And because, just a sec, just before you go on, so when I worked in the incontinence unit, which sort of in my nursing training, I was surprised, I was gutted to be on the incontinence unit and thought it'd be all old ladies and men. Couldn't believe it was all, you know, postnatal women that we were visiting who were, you know, wearing pads. And we used to train them to pee and then stop and hold it in, and then do those sort of sucky things in Bunda. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about when you talk about the pelvic exercises?
Yeah, so in America, I guess they'd be called Kegels. And yeah, I think in the UK we'd just say like pelvic floor squeezes or whatever. And yeah, the same Bunda is the same thing. So yeah, I guess the thing is, the problem we've got is that everybody thinks that is just like what you need to do. If you've had a baby, you've got to do pelvic floor squeezes. You've got pelvic pain, you've got to do pelvic floor squeezes. You've got leakage, you've got to do pelvic floor squeezes. And actually it's the opposite of that, is that most of our pelvic problems are actually due to an overactive pelvic floor, and that actually we need to do the opposite of the squeezes and do pelvic floor relaxation and down training before we even start to do the kind of Kegel stuff. So my post was about Kegels being the unbalanced masculine approach, because when we're talking about feminine masculine energy, we've got unbalanced masculine and unbalanced feminine. So the unbalanced feminine would just be just relaxing it and doing nothing but relaxing it. And then the unbalanced masculine is doing the pelvic floor squeezes endlessly and doing the jade egg squeezes and using Kegel trainers and that sort of thing. But neither of those two are going to work. They're just going to make things worse. You've got to have the balance between the two. But our culture and everybody tells us, oh, you just need to do your pelvic floor squeezes. And they think that that's the only option or the only thing that can help. And then if that doesn't help, they've got to go and have a hysterectomy or whatever. And it's just completely wrong. And it's causing millions of women to have unnecessary surgery and end up more debilitated on the other side of that. So, yeah.
So valuable. Wow. We could talk for hours. I think I'm going to get you back on, and I think I'd really like to invite you to do a regular women's health thing with me, because we need to demystify women's health in the yachting industry, and you know, and make this a coffee table kind of conversation that is completely okay, you know. And I think the more we can talk about it on radio, the easier it's going to be to incorporate this chat on the boats and within our industry. I'm really grateful.
I guess if they're trying to move towards more equality and retaining female crew, then it's going to have to it has to be one of the conversations that happens, because otherwise you lose crew to burnout, you know, to medical, you know, female crew to medical issues or whatever. So,
and not just that, many of the males in the industry choose to be married to women or partnered with women, you know, and I would say that, you know, it's really important that they understand their girlfriends and wives and sisters and mothers as well. So
Yeah, and also what the journey looks like after, you know, after yachting, if you choose to, you know, start a family or whatever, what the impact is of that lifestyle at that point as well, and starting to just, you know, have some learning how to honor the body in some way, through the challenges and the stresses of yachting life.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it could be how people start planning their rotations as well.
Can you imagine?
Oh, so cutting edge, and but then traditional and tribal, and how we were designed as well. Thank you so much for being on the show. This will be a conversation that's to be continued. I'm so deeply honoured that you came to be here today, and it's so much fun being friends with you. And I'm so impressed by your work. But now what everyone's wondering is, how do people get to work with you, and what services do you provide?
Well, you can, I guess the easiest thing is to find me on social media. So I'm Womankind Health. So Womankind Health on Instagram and Facebook. I've got a website which is womankindhealth.co.uk. And I currently work with women in a sort of 6-month container to help them reclaim their womb and pelvic health. So this is for any woman with any kind of pelvic floor dysfunction or loss of libido, sexual pain, pelvic pain, bladder issues, all that sort of thing. So
period pain, irregular cycles,
hormonal issues, menopausal symptoms, all the things.
Fantastic. So we'll put all your links below. And on that note, I'd just like to say as well, guys, you know, and girls, please continue to get your scans done, get your checks done, you know, get you know, have a gynae that you get checked up and have your checkups, because there's a very high incidence of cervical cancer in older women, and a very high incidence of ovarian cancer in women in general today, and ovarian cyst and polycystic ovaries more than ever before. We won't go into that today, but please be consistent. I know so many of you have not had a checkup for a while, and hand on my heart, you know, it only takes an hour, and you've just got to find the time. It's self-care and a responsibility you have to yourself and your families and your loved ones. We want to keep you safe. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lois. Everyone's been watching Yachting International Radio on Inspirations with Manda J. I'll be back next Monday with more exciting stuff.
Bye.